Hello nerds and nerdettes, and welcome back to the channel where once again we have a new video for you all to enjoy. Today we are entering into a new month, which means a new top 10 most anticipated releases of the month that you all should be watching out for. In this video, I will be going over 10 books that you should definitely have on your radar during the month of March 2025. But before we jump into the list, a quick reminder that we do have a channel sponsor, which is organicpricebooks.com. So if you plan on picking up or pre-ordering any of the books I'm about to mention, you can use our code staynerdy to save yourself $2 on an order. But if you are ordering 4 or more books, which this month you may end up doing because it is a heavy month when it comes to releases, you can use the code staynerdyshipittogether to save yourself 5% on that entire order. It's a great way to save yourself some money, but it's also a great way to help support the channel. So thank you to anyone that does decide to use those codes when ordering from OPB. But let's go ahead and jump into the list, starting with, of course, number 10. And first up at number 10, we do have Green Arrow Archer's Quest Omnibus Volume 1. We do have a cover price of $125, a release date of March 11th, 2025, and a page count of 1,128 pages. So this is going to be a big book. Now this is going to be all the works from Kevin Smith, we got Brad Meltzer in here, we even got art by Phil Hester, and this is going to be following Oliver Queen as he comes back from obscurity, treading lightly there for spoiler reasons, becomes Green Arrow, and kind of goes on an adventure to find himself as a hero once again with some help from his old sidekick, who is now Arsenal, and it is a phenomenal story. Green Arrow has been neglected big time when it comes to specifically collected editions, but comic books in general, and all of our collections are suffering from lack of Green Arrow. But the Green Arrow Omnis that are out there, the Longbow Hunters Omnibuses, which is a 2-volume set, and this entire portion of issues that's going to be collected in not only this omnibus, but the omnibuses to follow. Phenomenal stuff, great comic books. Definitely recommend checking it out. And one of the coolest aspects, I think, when it comes to this specific series, this title, this run, is the work done by Kevin Smith, who is a nerd like me and you, a huge comic book fan, and he gets a chance to write a comic book for the first time, I believe, is this title right here. So really phenomenal stuff, and I do recommend checking it out. And also check out Longbow Hunters, because that's also a really great title and run. So, but definitely keep it on your radar, 100% worth being in the number 10 spot. But let's go ahead and jump into number 9. And at number 9, we do have Batman Dark Age. This is getting a hardcover, and it will eventually get a trade paperback, probably very similar to Superman Space Age. We do have a cover price of $39.99, a release date of March 25th, 2025, and a page count of 272 pages. Now, this is not a massive book because it's only collecting 6 issues in total, which is the entire little series here. But this is by the creative team that did the phenomenal story Superman Space Age. And this is Mark Russell doing writing, which he's becoming a big name in comics when it comes to specifically incredible character work that portrays a great amount of humanity when it comes to these fictional characters. But the real selling point for at least me specifically is we have the Allreds. We have Mike Allred and Laura Allred on art and colors doing their phenomenal pop art style of art and contributing it to the now Batman character rather than Superman in the Space Age title. But why I want to read this so bad, because this will be a new title that I've never read before. I loved Superman Space Age. And honestly, one of the things I loved the most from Superman Space Age was the little Batman side quests and side story that we were getting throughout that Superman Space Age story. But here we are getting more of it, getting an actual Batman-focused title. And I think when I read Superman Space Age, that was my request at the end of the video, was I want a Batman Mark Russell and Allred's title. And then all of a sudden they were putting one out. So I'm really excited to check this out, get it into the collection, read it, absorb it, because Space Age was a phenomenal, heartfelt, and emotional story, and I'm hoping for the same being applied to Batman in this title here. But that's number 9, so let's get to number 8. And at number 8, we do have Chew the Omnibus, not the Omnibus, the Omnibus. That's pretty creative. We do have a page count of 64.99, a release date of March 25th, 2025, and a page count of 1,488 pages. Now, based off the information that I could find, this seems to be a paperback. I'm not 100% certain on that because this is a massive, massive book. This is 60 issues, all of Chew in one collected edition. So, I mean, that is pretty crazy to put into a paperback, but maybe they're gonna, push the limits. I don't know. But this is a phenomenal, phenomenal story. So much fun. This follows a detective by the name of Tony Chew, who has the ability to find out the story of anything that he eats. Now, if you're thinking of how that could be beneficial to a homicide detective, yes, they do go that route. But they go so many other directions, and it is one of the most dark and twisted at times, but also like funny and zany stories that I've ever read, and it is so phenomenal. The art by, which I always mispronounce his name, Rob Guillory, is so awesome, so incredible. It feels very independent comic arty when it comes to the paneling and the art style. There's lots of risks taken when it comes to specifically the panel layouts. And then you have John Layman on the writing duties, and this is 100% one of those stories that I think you should try. I do admittedly believe that it's not for everyone. It does have a kind of dark and twisted humor when it comes to the humor, but it does have tons of fun, but also some very dark storytelling and touches on some very touchy subjects. So definitely a genre-bending story, to say the least. But that's why it's at number 8. I do recommend checking it out. It's from Image. This was when Image was booming with Walking Dead, Invincible, all those titles coming out. So please at least give it a try. See if it's your cup of tea. I'm pretty sure the trade paperbacks are still out there, but if you have read it, comment down below. Let me know what you all think. But let's hop on to number 7. And at number 7, we do have Savage Dragon, the Ultimate Collection, Volume 3, finally coming out. Wow, what a wait that was. We do have a cover price of $39.99, a release date of March 18th, 2025, and a page count of 400 pages. Now, I did review the Ultimate Collection Volume 1. I've read Savage Dragon before. I have Ultimate Collection Volume 2, and I think this is so much fun. This is Eric Larson's creation when Image first started booming in the 90s. This was him doing writing and art, very similar to that of Todd McFarlane at Spawn, or any of the other creators. I'm sure all of you have heard the story when it comes to all of the founding fathers of Image and their titles that they were spearheading. This was Eric Larson's. And this was such a odd story, but also at the same time tons of fun. It's super 90s, very 90s. Story jumps all over the place. Art is phenomenal. Paneling is incredible. So I don't think you should go into this expecting anything critically acclaimed, but if you like 90s comics, if you like Edge, then this is going to be the book for you. This is all of that 90s Image goodness wrapped into one package, and it is so much fun. But this does follow, obviously, the Savage Dragon, who, if you jump into Ultimate Collection Volume 1, wakes up with amnesia, doesn't know who he is, ends up becoming a police officer, a Chicago police officer, and kind of follows a storyline of police department that has a superpowered division trying to stop supervillains, and then it just goes haywire after that, with tons of romanticism when it comes to Savage Dragon and his love interest, and it definitely jumps down some interesting paths, but definitely worth reading if you're a 90s fan, if you like 90s Image, if you like Spawn, specifically Spawn, kind of lacking on the storytelling, the highbrow level of storytelling, but really, really comic booky, and it is tons of fun. So I do recommend, once again, trying it out, seeing if it's your cup of tea, and if not, then, you know, do as you will. But it is worth checking out for sure, especially in these beautiful Ultimate collections, which Invincible was also collected in. So they look great on the shelf side by side. But that wraps up Savage Dragon, so let's hop to the next book. And here we are at number 6, quickly approaching the top 5. We do have Dark Knights of Steel, which is getting a hardcover first, and I assume a trade paperback later. Sometimes DC releases them both at the same time, but typically they do hardcover first, then trade. But this does have a cover price of $29.99, a release date of March 18th, 2025, and a page count of 224 pages. Now, this is mainly on my radar because I loved Dark Knights of Steel by Tom Taylor. I thought it was a phenomenal Elseworld story. I loved what Tom Taylor did with all of the DC superheroes, putting them into a medieval Game of Thrones-like story and really twisted up a multitude of the characters, specifically when it comes to Superman and Batman. And it is just such a breath of fresh air when it comes to Dark Knights of Steel. And lots of twists and turns, a lot of stuff I didn't see coming, and some incredible action and art in there. And this, from what I hear, is just a continuation of that universe. I don't think it's a sequel by any means. I don't think it follows those characters specifically, but it does exist in that same medieval Game of Thrones DC universe, and starts telling yet another story. And from basing it off the cover of this and stuff that I've heard, it primarily focuses on that of Deathstroke, medieval Deathstroke. And I just want to jump back into this universe and just experience that fun that I had when I was reading Dark Knights of Steel. And a lot of people are saying that this is also really, really good. So I am interested to read it, jump back into this universe, visit these characters, this kingdom again, and see what path we go down now, because Dark Knights of Steel was seriously in the running of one of my favorite reads of, what was it, 2023, because it really was tons of fun and such a breath of fresh air, and I loved just jumping into it and seeing familiar faces, but with a twist applied to them. So read Dark Knights of Steel if you haven't already, and I definitely recommend reading it if you plan on getting all winter, just so you can kind of understand the universe and what's taking place. But definitely phenomenal universe that was built by Tom Taylor. And here we are branching into the top 5 with Batman by James Tynion, the Omnibus Volume 1. We do have a cover price of $125, a release date of March 4th, 2025, and a page count of 1,040 pages. So throughout this entire run by James Tynion, you're going to have so much superhero-y badassness, if that's a word, applied to Batman. It feels so much fun, and you jump into it and you get a multitude of focuses on characters that are either new or pre-established but haven't had the spotlight before, such as Scarecrow. We have Punchline being introduced in here, and Ghostmaker being introduced in here also. Joker and Harley Quinn get a huge focus, but this is going to have the events, which is Fear State and Joker War, all collected in here during this run, and I really, really do like those events. I know some people thought it was a little played out. I found it awesome. I don't know how else to describe it than awesome. To see the roles of Joker and Batman flipped, and, you know, Batman more in a rustic background, or coming from, you know, I'm trying not to give away too many spoilers here, but just a really, really fun story, seeing Batman in a different element and kind of rise back to the top. And we see him broken down. We see tons of Bat family characters. Ghostmaker is quickly becoming a fan favorite character and is appearing in a multitude of Batman-centric books. And while I think Batman is getting extremely oversaturated when it comes to the collected editions market, this is one that is absolutely phenomenal, especially when it comes to the storytelling, but the art also, because you have Hugo Petrus on artwork and Jorge Jimenez on artwork. absolutely incredible stuff here. Love it, love it, love it. But this is going to be a big book also, so you're going to get everything that you kind of need all in this one package. And James Tynion's run on Batman was released in a multitude of kind of weird hardcovers that collected like portions of his run, but not all of it from start to finish. So I'm so happy to see that this is being collected, because those hardcovers are kind of ridiculous on the shelf and take up so much space. So it's nice to have them all in one package eventually once we finish out the run in omnibus format. But definitely check it out. I think it got a decent amount of love and hate from the community, but I do think it's worth checking out. It's Batman. Typically, Batman, pleases the crowd. So just give it a try and see if it's something that you enjoy. I don't think it's as good as, Chip Zdarsky's run or anything along those lines that probably new readers are experiencing right now, but it is still an awesome run and worth reading, because you have some really cool events in there that add more to the mythos and lore and roster of the Batman character and title. At number 4, we do have X-Men Fatal Attractions, the Omnibus. This does have a cover price of $100, a release date of March 18th, 2025, and a page count of 816 pages. So a little on the smaller side, but still definitely worth an omnibus, especially when it comes to this event. So this is going to be the event that we kind of saw play out in X-Men 97, the animated series. We saw at least elements of play out. And this is going to follow Magneto as he fully releases his might and anger and kind of comes back into the picture in a big way. This is going to follow the aftermath, or what's going on with the legacy virus and how it's affecting mutants, both good and bad, and the aftermath wave that's going through the mutant population and how the X-Men are handling it, and Magneto. And then on top of that, it's all going to culminate with a massive climax between X-Men and the Magneto, where you're going to see that epic and famous, maybe infamous to some people, scene where Magneto kind of unleashes his fury on that of Wolverine, which changes his trajectory as a character through the rest of the 90s era of X-Men, to some people's dismay, because a lot of people hated that era of Wolverine. But this is where it all takes place, and then you get to see everything kind of boil to the surface and boil over when it comes between Professor X and Magneto, and how the ending eventually kind of comes about. And it is a phenomenal story. It is obviously pretty 90s. It has some edge to it. There's definitely some edge for edge's sake being taken during this specific story. But you got Scott Lobdell on this writing, and then you also have Brandon Peterson and John Romita Jr. on covers, tons of covers, which I know his artwork's kind of hit or miss, but for the 90s, he was kind of poppin'. He was a big name, but this is absolutely a historic story when it comes to the characters that are on the X-Men team, and more specifically, Magneto and Wolverine, because of what takes place during that climax that people are still talking about till this day. So definitely an X-Men story you want to get into the library, get under your belt, because it really does change the character, the roster, the way they kind of view each other, and the legacy virus alone just did that. But then when you go into the actual Fatal Attraction story and what's taking place, you get even more changes and even more tension being built. So phenomenal story, very important to the mutant population in the Marvel Universe, and definitely worthy of being picked up, especially in an omnibus format, because some of the art in here is beautiful. But that is number 4, so we now enter into the top 3. And first up at number 3, we do have Daredevil by Nocenti and Romita Jr. Omnibus Volume 1. We do have a cover price of $100, a release date of March 11th, 2025, and a page count of 856 pages. So it seems like this Daredevil Omnibus is going to follow in suit with other multiple volume Daredevil omnibuses, which is keeping them kind of small, condensed, and just splitting it up into multiple volumes, essentially. Now, this is going to be the run that follows Frank Miller's run, and this is going to pick up post Born Again. This is going to have tons of focus on the events that took place during that specific storyline, but most of all, what you're going to have in here is Daredevil really getting involved and mixed up with the rest of the Marvel Universe. I mean, you have Black Widow in here, you have Punisher, Black Panther, you have a multitude of characters, Sabretooth, a great fight with Sabretooth in here, all coming into the Daredevil title, and Daredevil making an appearance in those titles, and it is superhero-y as much as it can be with a character like Daredevil. And that's where I truly, truly love Ann Nesenti's writing. I think this is where you have the character of Daredevil getting the superhero title and feeling that we really don't get from all of his other runs because they're so gritty and grounded, but in this you get that superhero-y flair. There's going to be, of course, tons of focus on the character of Kingpin, Daredevil's arch rival for years to come, I'm sure. And then you're also going to get the introduction of Typhoid Mary, who is a very, very complex and kind of odd character, but she becomes a very important character specifically during this run. And I'm pretty sure this run also leads into the Inferno event that takes place, and there's some tie-in issues that take place during the Inferno event, but I think that might be collected in Omnibus Volume 2. You guys can let me know down below. But this is such a slept-on run on Daredevil. I think people hate it more than they like it, and I think that's because she kind of took Daredevil out of the alleys and the streets that we saw him in during Frank Miller's run and saw him in all of the runs following. But this is a phenomenal run. It is so much fun. This is also John Romita Jr. at his peak, if you ask me. Some incredible artwork by him as an artist during this specific run. And the character of Typhoid Mary and her coming to be and being introduced into Marvel Comics through this run is worth the admission of this omnibus alone, because she is such a complex and layered character that has a love interest aspect to her, but also a villain aspect to her, and both of those come to a head when it comes to Matt Murdock, Daredevil, and his supporting cast, Karen Page, and what happens following her introduction into his comics. So, phenomenal run. Don't believe the hate. Try it yourself first, and then you can make your decision, but definitely at least give it a try. Maybe not in omnibus format, maybe digitally, but I do recommend checking it out. And at number 2, we do have Black Panther by Reginald Hudlin Omnibus. This does have a cover price of $150, pretty pricey for Marvel there. And then we do have a release date of March 11th, 2025, and a cover or a page count of 1,368 pages. Huge book. Huge book. Now, this is a pretty important omnibus. Some people may be asking why. This, to most people that read Black Panther or are a fan of Black Panther, is a character-defining run. This is the run that people say, if you want to read Black Panther, get started on Black Panther, understand Black Panther, whatever it may be, this is the run to read, and I 100% co-sign on that. This is going to be such a lore building, a universe building when it comes to Wakanda, a roster when it comes to Black Panther supporting cast building, run on the character, and it is so good. Throughout this, you're going to have the Dora Milaje popping up, you're going to have Shuri popping up in a big way. So if you like the character of Shuri and you want to kind of find out her comic book origins and how she came to be and how significant she is as a character, this is the run you want to read. But you also get T'Challa being built up, because you get the introduction of Storm into the Black Panther comics in yet another massively big way, and I absolutely love how she's incorporated into the story. It feels so regal, it feels so right, and it is phenomenal. And then on top of that, you also get Black Panther, Captain America, or is it Captain America, Black Panther, Flags of Our Father, or Flags of Our Fathers, which is a absolutely incredible story. Definitely worth reading. Has some historical significance or historical fictional significance when it comes to Wakanda Africa, America during World War II, so definitely check that out. I think that's collected in like other trade paperbacks and other collections, but if you want it in an oversized format, which I do recommend, then this is what you're going to want to read and check out. But man, this is such an incredible Black Panther run. Definitely more heavy on the character development and the world building, not as heavy in the action, you know, balls to the wall, flying all over the place, but tons of lore and Wakanda universe history building aspects when it comes to the storytelling. So if you want more of that world building qualities and who Black Panther is, T'Challa, the king that he is, how he represents Wakanda, his supporting cast, and how they become important, read this. I know a lot of people say Christopher Priest run is where you want to start, which I do recommend. Christopher Priest run. That's probably my favorite Black Panther run. So much action, so much just awesome moments when it comes to the character of Black Panther, but also has some 90s flair. But this is going to be that character defining run that really made Black Panther the character that we see paid homage to through now more modern runs like Ta-Nehisi Coates. So definitely check it out. 100% something you should have in your library, whether you're a Black Panther fan or not. But that's why it's at number 2, because it is such a significant run on the character. And last but not least, at number 1, we do have Ultimate Fantastic Four Omnibus Volume 1. We do have a cover price of $100, a release date of March 18th, 2025, and a page count of 856 pages. Now, I know Ultimate Universe is very prominent right now in current comics. This is old Ultimate. This is pre-Incursion, pre-Secret Wars 2015, pre all of that. This is not Hickman's built up in Ultimate Invasion and Hickman's Spider-Man. This is the old Ultimate Universe, but still really great stuff here. I was a huge fan of the old Ultimate Universe. I loved Ultimates. The original Ultimate Spider-Man by Brian Michael Bendis, phenomenal. Ultimate X-Men even, I thought started phenomenally and had some incredible character work when it came to the roster of the X-Men. It did kind of fall off big time, but it started so good. And here we are with Ultimate Fantastic Four. You got Mark Miller, Brian Michael Bendis, you got Stuart Immonen, Adam Kubert on art, so phenomenal writers, phenomenal artists here, and we get to see the new introduction or reintroduction of the Fantastic Four in the Ultimate Universe, where they are de-aged. They're younger, they're more with the times, which you are going to get tons of that in any Ultimate title. Very 2000s, but this is such a just fun and rejuvenated look at the Marvel's first family, and you get to really understand these characters in a big way and in a multitude of ways, specifically when it comes to Reed Richards, because this Reed Richards actually ends up becoming a very prominent character in comics now. So if you want to see the origin of a very prominent, very well-known character that is still in comics, still to this day, despite the old Ultimate Universe no longer existing, this is what you have to read. And the decline of the Reed Richards character and how he comes to be that character, which obviously treading very lightly here, phenomenal. So good. Please read it, check it out. Anything Ultimate Universe is worth reading, new or old. The new Ultimate Universe is phenomenal. I'd recommend reading that also. But the old Ultimate stuff is really good. I am still a fan. I was collecting it when I was a kid, and I read it, and it still holds up today. There is a time capsule aspect to it where, you know, some of the dialogue and references are very early 2000s, and you get that feel, but there's nothing wrong with that. I don't mind that. Comic books are history at the end of the day, you know, so that's what's great about them. But some of the work in here, especially when it comes to Reed Richards, this is my favorite Reed Richards. I'm gonna say it. I'm not a huge fan of Reed Richards in general, but this is my favorite version of that character. But phenomenal, phenomenal stuff here. And we're getting another Ultimate Omnibus. What a world where we have so many Ultimate Omnibuses. We used to only have one, which was Ultimate Spider-Man. Crazy world to live in. Golden age of collected editions. Can't emphasize that enough, but that's why it's at number 1. But that does wrap up today's video of my top 10 most anticipated releases you should be keeping an eye out for during March of 2025. Like always, comment down below. Let me know what books should be on my radar. Let me know what books should be on other people's radar. There was tons of books from here. I have a massive honorable mention list here that I could go into, but it's just far too long, from Batman by Zdarsky getting another volume, Nightwing by Tom Taylor getting another volume, Animal Pound by Tom King, Feral being a volume 2, Fish Flies by Jeff Lemire getting a hardcover, X-Men, the new title with Jed MacKay and Ryan Stegman getting a first volume. The list goes on, but if you want to add even more, comment down below. You never know who you might be helping find their first comic, their favorite comic, so make sure to leave those comments. And if you did enjoy today's video, make sure to hit that thumbs up icon while you're down below. It does help out with the algorithm, and if you do want to be a part of the community, you can also hit that subscribe button and ring that bell for notifications. It does mean a lot to us here on the channel. But thank you so much for watching. Once again, I appreciate each and every one of you guys, and of course, stay nerdy.